Ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Chad Bordeaux. This is another edition of the ComicCorp Podcast, brought to you by RealNerdCorp.com. And this jug of water I have, it's actually not a jug, it's a water bottle that I got in high school when I was on the track team. God, there's a lot of pretty girls on that track team. Why did Chad join the track team? It was because I wanted her to run, that's for sure. Joining me, as always, is my wonderful, glorious co-host, Mock Screen. Mock, how are you?
Doing okay. It's a weird time, but we're doing okay.
So we have no NFL. Well, technically, that's already been true. No NBA, no MLS, no NHL. Major League Baseball has been pushed 3 weeks. The XFL has canceled their season, you cunts. I understand suspending. I get it. Give yourself 3 to 5 weeks. Let's see what happens, and then mull it over. They're like, nope, we're done. And now I'm super pissed, but, like, whatever. Jordan Ta'amu needs to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Fight me. We have no March Madness. Ring of Honor has canceled their 18th events. Right now, because it's in Canada, lockdown is going ahead as scheduled, I believe. But that could change, very quickly with how this virus is moving. What else? E3. There's other conventions that have been canceled because of it.
Movies are being pushed back.
Yep, Black Widow, Fast 9, and Fast 9's been pushed back an entire year because of it.
Yeah, Mulan, some other stuff, and I feel like this is gonna kind of continue. Like I said before we came on air, man, a lot of these movies these days live and die by the international appeal. If they can't go over there to try, to promote, it's that's half the budget they can't get back.
Our schools have been suspended for 3 weeks. My friend who lives in Washington State, she told me that schools there have been suspended for 6 weeks. That means those kids will be doing some work during the summer. So yeah, it's a wild time, and I wanna double down and say that while this is not the most serious thing that can happen to you, this is also not something to fuck around with. Do your due diligence. Keep yourself clean. Stock up on the essentials, not 16 goddamn packages of toilet paper. You're not going to shit that much, people. Get some canned soup. Get some boxed food. Get a few perishables. You'll be fine for a week or two. Just, calm the fuck down. But also, don't treat this like it's a game. Because while it is an aggressive form of a flu, y'all don't really sell too well on what the hell the flu is. The flu's a killer, man. There's a reason why every flu season they're like, hey, get your goddamn flu shot because you might die if you get this shit. And apparently the coronavirus, it infects your lungs more than anything. So that's the big killer, is respiratory and organ failure. So wash your goddamn hands. Don't act like a dip. But also don't freak out and be a dickhole because you're scared.
Yeah, which is the thing you should have been doing before this epidemic happened, but you know how it is. And if you do have or stay with people and just know people in the neighborhood that are elders, check in on them.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a lot of elders on my street, and I'm going to be keeping an eye out on them. And I actually did that in the grocery store today. There's this fucking viral tweet thread that went viral today about this woman who claimed that she helped this old chick. Well, adorable, whatever. Mine was much less helpful, but it was still a little helpful. We have a brand of stores called Giant Eagle. That's our grocery store chain. It's in Michigan, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Upper New York, I think. Not very big, but big enough. And they have this Giant Eagle brand flavored water. It's really good, and it tastes like soda for you Midwesterners, you freaks. It's just sparkling water with some flavor to it. And I was getting 4 because it was 4 for 3. I was like, oh, cool. And this woman's like, I can't find the tropical one. And I'm standing and I'm looking right at it. I'm like, like, Miss, is this the one you're looking for? And she goes, I couldn't see it. I'm like, damn, lady, I ain't that wide. So, just do the little things, man. Like, just let people know that, the world's not ending, What's that line from Batman? It could be something as simple as putting a coat around a little boy and reminding him that the world hasn't ended. Like, come on. Don't be dips. That should be the name of this week's episode. Don't be dips. You dips. But we got some things to talk about because not everything's canceled. Most things are canceled. Oh, and Marcus, so we know that we're going to have at least 3 or 4 more weeks of Impact Wrestling. We know that we're going to have at least 3 or 4 more weeks of NWA Power. So we have at least 4 weeks of content left we can do for Wrestling Underground. But if this prolongs, I don't know what the fuck we're going to have to invest in that Ruthless Aggression podcast idea that we've been kicking around. Because we're going to need to start going atypical topics.
We're going to have to start going retro.
We're going retro. So let me tell you about this Jimmy Valiant character. He's a young pup. I don't see him wrestling into his 70s.
Don't underestimate the concept of me and Chad pulling somebody's ass and then going damn near 2 hours on the show about it. We can do something. It's just, coming up with stuff. He's busy. I'm busy with certain stuff. So, if we got to pull something out and stretch some shows, we can come up with some stuff. So.
Oh, don't even doubt that. We're here, people. We're not going anywhere. We might have to do 2 hours on how to cook your survival rations properly with the right amount of Frank's Red Hot, but we'll do it, bitch.
Boom.
We will find a way to be entertained.
He does that. I tell you different sides you can put with ramen noodles to make a full meal.
You get your Spam meat, your ramen noodles, and your canned peaches. Boom, you're safe.
My man.
I got the Aquaman, my man, so I'm pretty happy right now. We can call the show. We're good. Nothing. It's all downhill from here. Dude, Spam meat and ramen noodles is super fucking popular in Japan. Right?
It's weird. I almost feel like look at somebody, with the rock eyebrow when they say, "Man, I don't eat Spam." Do you know how versatile of a thing Spam is?
So I'm about to get ready to duck. In my life, I don't think I've ever had Spam.
Well, see, that's just, but I'm talking about people who say it like it's the bubonic plague or something.
Oh, yeah, the hoity-toity, can I have some Grey Poupon, and how dare you offer me some Spam?
I've heard people say that about noodles. Like, you eat noodles? I'm like, hello, poverty. What the hell? What's wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Poverty noodles. I actually kind of want to do, because I keep seeing commercials for the Spam. And I think the reason why I've always been turned off by the Spam is I'm such a goddamn cliche. I'm all about the branding and packaging or something.
Oh, man, I get it.
And every time I see Spam, I just go, you look like the most boring thing in the history of things. You look like you were made in the 50s and no one decided to update you. So every time I see it, I'm just like, is that the same can I saw 5 years ago? Because it hasn't changed, man. Here we got fucking Fruity Pebbles with a new goddamn box every 14 and a half weeks. Spam can't change their fucking logo in 60 years. Hey, if it works, though. I do gotta try it, though. People who eat it tell me it's, really good. And I'm just like, all right. Let's see how your canned meat goes.
Yeah, because I'm becoming more, I guess, health conscious as I get older. I'm because my mom still likes to eat, a lot of fried stuff and pork, but I'm, dialing it back because now I'm switching over to turkey bacon.
Yes, turkey sausage. Turkey burgers.
Stuff I would have ran from years ago. It's I don't see how I didn't just get on this in the first place. like they have spam and then they have spam light because I'm very knowledgeable now of like sodium intake.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've eaten stuff with high sodium and gotten those headaches after stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, man, I got to. So like, we do the noodles instead of putting both packs. I put one if I'm doing 2 packs.
Mm.
One pack of the sauce. So that um, you gotta be mindful of that stuff as you get older, because there's just certain stuff that you are not as we know able to bounce back from as you get older. So it's getting your body healthier now is gonna benefit you later. So
I would recommend to anyone dashes, or in my case, entire lemons just squashed into juice on top of anything. Lemon and lime on top of anything makes it better.
gotcha.
Oh, it's so good. Lemon and lime kissed chicken, lemon and lime kissed beef, lemon and lime kissed girls. Although it's gonna hurt a little bit, but it's fine. It's kinks. It's kinks. So yeah, we're here. We're here on twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp, YouTube.com. Search for us at Comic and GameCorp. We don't have enough subscribers yet to have a URL, so subscribe so we can get that URL. So let's talk The Boys, My Hero Academia, because even though school's canceled, it ain't in the world of My Hero Academia. Although I have a feeling it's going to be, because the bad guys are coming. We have Castlevania Season 3, and then we're going to peruse CBR to see what headlines make me mad. Spoiler. All of them. So, Marcus, let's start with The Boys. We read Nothing Like It in the World, La Plume de Mort Tente et sur la Table, The Female of the Species is More Deadly Than the Male, What I Know, and The Innocents. And let me just say The Innocents is maybe my favorite arc. Just because of how just goofy and daffy they were. Oh, I love that one. So we finally got the story of Mother's Milk, telling us all about his time as a young male, and then a slightly older young male. We find out that he had a brother. Right? That was his brother in that story?
Yeah, who was a little mentally behind.
And he got involved with some Vought nonsense, I believe. Right? Wasn't that what happened? Like the younger brother got exposed to something?
His mom worked in a factory, and they basically just had no F's to give about safety and the safety protocols. So they got exposed to a lot of stuff, and I think this was at a time when Vault was experimenting on and refined versions of Compound V.
Mm-hmm.
So the mom got exposed to it, and it's kind of a delayed thing, because he was like, when it's unrefined, it's either you get, you become Superman or you become a puddle of stew. But it's all kinds of effects, brain damage, cancer, all kind of stuff, and ended up affecting his brother and him, as we will find out later on.
So the brother ends up pretty much gaining a lot of weight from this. It's this aggressive body mass explosion of sorts. And it gets to the point one day when they're kids and they're running around, and he just becomes consumed by whatever Vought did to him. And he kind of just explodes, is the best way to put it. And it rocks their family pretty hardcore. And if I remember correctly, his father died shortly thereafter, and then his mother just lost all will to fight.
Yeah, well, it was such a sad thing because a beautifully tragic story.
Mm-hmm.
But one that hit home in a way, maybe just because of the comparable struggles with black characters, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like it was tragic because you kick off the thing about they don't even we kind of go immediately into why we would come to know him as Mother's Milk. Because apparently anytime he would get ready to be weaned off of the milk, he would be he basically shrivel up like a prune, and then nothing would be able to help him. So that's an interesting thing. I imagine that has something to do with the compound V effect
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Or maybe that's just a, I don't know, a maternal, fraternal thing. But um, yeah, just telling that story about again the vault victims, like the dad knowing that his family has been affected by vaults, just complete and utter negligence for humanity, and him basically not having really the education beforehand, but having to gain it in jail, and then coming out and trying to fight for his family, and basically punching up against a brick wall with bare knuckles until he, can must out a win. But after years of just basically destroying himself, and I think the most pivotal part in the comic was like all them years I saw my dad struggle, damn near kill himself, and basically be a 5-2 player, both having to be a dad, a man, and this guy trying to fight for the right thing. And he finally musters out a win, and after all that, just hear those vault guys walking out, and they just go, "You win some, you lose some."
Yeah, that's pretty poignant.
And it's just, oh man, it's just like it's just that that rich thing. It was like, what you kill yourself earning, I shit away in like 2 days or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but that, I mean, that was a really great line. And then, like you said, the whole thing about his mom just not having the will to fight, and him trying to pick up that whole thing, and then him boxing, and then like you said, the superpower thing that just popped off. I would
Pop
imagine that
goes
was
the weasel.
literally, literally.
So is in a boxing match, and he uppercuts this guy and literally rips his head off. So he gets arrested because, let's be honest, that probably happens. If you knock someone's head off, you're probably going to get arrested. But Billy Butcher shows up and he's like, "Hey, you want to do the rabble rouser?" And he's like, "Sure." And then we cut to the next issue, and it's more of a story of MM with Billy. We get the first inclinations on his then ex or then current wife, now ex-wife, and his daughter. Apparently, they went to the wife or the mom took the baby to this crack den of sorts that are filled with a bunch of dudes getting high on Compound V, and Mother's Milk is dealing with the head honcho, trying to find out where his child is, and gets the baby back. But Billy gets surrounded by a bunch of dudes,
Bunch of dope fiends.
and he says something that I think everyone would say, like, "Calm down, boys, calm down." And that didn't go over well. Because he's in the wrong kind of road to be using that word. Now, granted, I think they were looking for a reason.
Yeah, they kind of just, they was like, look at this. It's funny because we know how just how much of a Brit he is, but in this scenario, the crackheads looked at him as a wanker, and they was like, oh, we just gonna go up to him and F with him, like, "Hey, give me $1." Like, what? I think we got our lines crossed there. What you say? What you say?
Young gentleman, what did you call us? What? Now, see, I've been in situations where I've dealt with people who have reacted in that way. And it's never a good thing, especially when they're like 4'10" and like Japanese, and you're like, "What's happening here? What did I say? I said, what's up?" Oh, that's what I said.
It's weird too because it speaks to a level of, and usually this is more purposeful because people just don't give a damn to be inclined, but it does speak to a level of cultural ignorance because he's not speaking a different language. Is more it's more like slang English, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of people getting offended by that, like anything that's not that straight up and down English, or for some people Ebonic English, they feel like they're being cursed out or talked down to. So when Butcher says, "I think we got our cultural lines crossed here,"
and the guy's like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "Never mind."
it's like, yeah, you was looking for this fight.
The funny thing is, I always greet all my friends like whenever we have like a get together. I'm like, "What's up, boys?" So like, I gotta be real careful about that in certain regions of this country. I don't want to end up like Billy. So
Oh man.
Billy gets the shit kicked out of him. Mother's Milk shows up, saves the day, and Mother Milk pretty much says, hey, you know, that was the day Billy and I became Billy and I because Billy never once hit me over the head with that. You know, he got his ass kicked and he never held it over my head. Then Mother's Milk also goes on to describe the events of the plane crash that Vought caused. The one that
Yeah.
was done in the TV show, which was redone differently. It featured a plane crashing into, I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge. And
Uh-huh.
Milk is telling, God, what's his name? Huey. He's telling Huey all about, like, hey, you know, go walk across the rebuilt bridge there and back, and you'll have a new perspective. And then he starts explaining, like, what happened. He was on the bridge that day, and, you know, the plane took out, you know, the entire bridge, and he was climbing up and saw this mom, and he reached in to grab her, but her kids were still in the car, and she was still buckled in, I think. And he
Yeah, and he
pulled
pulled
her
out.
out.
Yeah.
And they set it up so elegantly in the boxing story. Because it could be one of two ways. She could have been trapped and he pulled her, or he could have yanked her too hard trying to save her. But either way, he ends up ripping her in two as she's screaming for her children that are falling into the Hudson Canal. And I'm just like, that's worse than the fucking plane.
This image and the last shot of this book, man, I'm telling you.
The last
Some
shot of which book? The Nothing Like It in the World?
Yeah, this issue, this last issue with him, because he's talking about something specific, and they go to a shot. We're gonna get to it, but it hit heavy.
Well, let's get to it now.
Yeah.
Which shot are you referring to?
Yeah, because after he talks about the bridge and he goes into this story about I'm guessing how the construction of that bridge came about, and he he basically kind of just ends it off with like, when you dedicate your whole life to building something and you give your blood, sweat, and tears and practically your soul, and somebody comes and just destroys it like it's nothing, and you rebuild it, it's never really the same. And then they just do this shot with the Twin Towers.
Yeah, because there was something else kind of in the wording, because it was like you could replace it, but it's
Yeah.
never truly the same. And like in my head, I don't know how you took it, but in my head, I kind of saw that as, even though in the story we're doing the bridge instead of the tower
Yeah.
still being here doesn't take away the reality. Like that's kind of how I took the writing of the line.
It's this. I think this is the conversation that we almost kind of pre had the conversation, because we were talking about the potential contrast and what they were doing in the earlier issue when they actually did the plane crash, and how because they did a two-tower shot earlier with the plane. But I think this one specifically, there's no really doubt and about the this the parallels that they was drawn. And just like I said, I mean, like I said, it hit home. You kind of got to just sit there and look at that. And I'm right there with you. Like when he was talking about it and they went to that shot, it was like they that was a great parallel. And with everything that we've gotten through this series, that was a great kind of silent, cathartic moment, if you will, that you don't oftentimes get in this book a lot. To kind of just sit with on a broader scale, in terms of looking outside of the concept of this book. So I kind of appreciated that. As sad as it was, but it was true, because nothing he said was wrong. Because you talk about the people that died not only building that bridge, but the people who kind of just really don't take it as anything important out of they just walking, because they also did this thing where he's talking about walking on the bridge and just the frivolousness of the people who were just getting into it and cursing people out and just kind of taking the concept of the whole thing for granted. And then, you just going about your day being an a-hole, and all of a sudden now a plane's crashing into you and you're dead.
Yeah.
So, that whole thing, I think that this is probably one of the most poignant parts I've seen in this book so far. And, like I said, it was sad, but it's appreciated.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I was not expecting Garth Ennis to actually do something of relevance with this book, other than sex, blood, and violence. So kudos, because the entire arc, even though like the way his brother goes is so over the top and just gratuitous, the story behind it and the story following it, like you said, there was a lot of emotional weight to that. But then they go into Le Plume de Mont tant est sur la table, fucking French, and they go 180, and they just go with absurdity. So this is Frenchie's backstory. Frenchie goes off to war, comes back, sees his ma, sees his pa, and he's looking for his one true love. Turns out his one true love is with the kid that he used to bully growing up. He calls him his rival, but every shot in the book depicts Frenchie assaulting him. And he's called Black Pierre.
I'm like, okay, Bakugo.
Right?
Rival, huh?
So Black Pierre is now banging his ex, and poor Frenchie. By the by, he's from France, people. He returns to France. Knows everyone in France. And what do all the people in France call him? Frenchie!
Yeah, it's funny because Chad kind of, he said it, but this book hits home in a completely different way.
Yeah.
It hits the feels in a completely different way because it's tragically comedic.
Yes.
Because the dude comes home after this war, and it's this great, this welcome back home story. Like I feel like we could watch this as an actual series, like the story of French and everything, just because of how it happened. Come home, almost gets a hero's welcome, gets both parents, talks about like I've gotten those demons out, and I'm at peace. I want to be home now, and I want to be home with my lady who, and I love that great line. He was like, childhood innocence turned into deafening passion or something like that. And it just showed, of course, screwing because in this book, as you do. And he's like, so man, I know we got that festival coming up, but where my girl at? And it was like, about that. In my head, a horn sounded off outside. And it was Black Pierre, right?
Yep. No, it was Black Pierre.
And now I'm narrating this in my head, Chad. And if you need to get a swig of water, get it now, because I don't want to make you spit it out. But basically, this is how it went in my head. He pulls up and just goes, ha ha, I took your beach, ha ha. For thousands of years I've slept, waiting for my revenge. Ha! And just flies out. And the look on his face. And the dad basically being the hype man in a rap battle. Like, what the freak? You just gonna let him do that to you?
So let's paint the picture of Black Pierre. So Frenchie, when he comes home, is a fairly good looking, blonde hair, blue eyes, athletically thin, Frenchman. Black Pierre is short, overweight, greasy, ugly, has a what are those dumb little hats called?
Oh shoot! I'm about to call it a bouvet. It's not a bouvet. It's a freaking sheet. French hats are called a beret.
Yes, a beret. So he's got the dumb little beret on, and he's got the typical French black and white line shirt that you would always see in like 1950s cinema depicting a French person.
With the parted mustache.
Yes, with the parted mustache. I think he's got like a black neckerchief. So he's so atypical, stereotypical, and I love it. And like the girlfriend is just like doing her nails on the back of his bicycle. It's so over the top. So Frenchie takes a vow of not celibacy, nonviolence.
Oh yeah.
I forget the term, but it's nonviolence. So apparently in this part of France, they do a baguettes duel of sorts, like the old knights would. They get on their bicycles and they joust with baguettes. Well, apparently Black Pierre has done very well, and his father and Frenchie's father wants Frenchie to challenge him in a baguette duel. Frenchie declines, citing his pacifism. There's the word. So
There it is.
Frenchie's father steps in his stead to challenge Blackbeard. Now Huey's not Huey. Frenchie's like, Father, you're hard. You have the heart issues, and so you think he's gonna get hit in the chest and die of a heart attack. They go the complete 180. Blackbeard sticks a 6-week-old roll baguette,
Yeah.
like a small little roll baguette into the front tire of Frenchie's father, and Frenchie's father goes head over heels and gets mauled by these stiff cement blocks and just dies. Soon thereafter, his mother then dies, and Frenchie's just like, fuck this noise. Then he shoves sheets down Blackbeard's stomach, like into his abdomen, and hangs him from the barn. Now, Frenchie says, that his that Blackbeard's now ex-girlfriend and his previous ex-girlfriend came to take him back, begging, please take me back. But I feel like that was out of context, don't you?
Yeah, I feel like he would have, I feel like he would have been the preemptive one, right? Like in terms of going there to be like, hey, wonder where your boyfriend is, and like threw an arm or something at her.
Yeah,
because she basically, when this book kicks off, she basically comes off, even though we only get a descriptor of her from his perspective, but it comes off like she's Rose from the Notebook, and then we come back, and she seems like one of the chicks that would have been at the freaking Hero-gasm place. So, but how this happened, he just snapped. But it just seemed weird that she tried to get back with him. I'm with you on that. But yeah, it just am I the only one that immediately went to like one of me and Chad's favorite movies, A Knight's Tale, when they did the baguette jousting.
Which scene though in particular are you thinking of from that movie?
When they first showed it, and they showed the two guys, because basically this festival is to settle scores, right? In a productive and gentlemanly like fashion. So you had these two dudes jousting, and it goes off like one guy's baguette broke, and then obviously the other guy would be the victor, and they raise each other's hand in victory. Da da da. I'm sitting up there like, you have been, because it's a baguette. I'm like, you have been weighed, you have been baked, you have been cooled.
And you have been found needing a paper bag.
In what world did you think you would be able to eat me? But
you baked me, and yet you still rode. This movie's ruined for me now.
It's so good, but it's crazy because the last convo this dude had with his dad, he basically disowned him before he went off the war.
Right? It's like fucking Mulan, only with French people. So that takes us to the female of the species is more deadly than the male. It's a standalone issue about the female. So apparently, basically it boils down to, as a baby, she ended up in Compound V waste, and then ended up becoming, the killer assassin that she is by ripping people's faces off. She was trying to find some semblance of humanity and reality, but every time she was close to it, she would get yanked back, until one day the boys raided intercepted the hunt for the female, because she keeps breaking out. The boys were looking for Vought, found Vought, killed Vought, found this girl who can kill a bunch of people. They're like, hey, we should bring her with us. And Frenchie's like, we got to remember this is a human being. This is a person. And we're starting to see cracks in some of these stories with the humanity or lack thereof of Butcher. And he goes, well, what good's a human being? Or what good's a person to us? We need a killing machine. And Frenchie then goes out of his way to, show the female, hey, you can trust me. You can go shower, you can eat, you can stay in your bed, you can do whatever you want. You're free, you are no longer a captive. And that makes, the female very happy and very satiated. So it's definitely the more gruesome of the three, and I think it's the less memorable of the three. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, it's truly sad, but it is cool that it's told through him, because at this point he is really her most grounding connectivity to the world at this point. Um, I guess the most poignant part of this particular issue for me was when she was talking about when she because her mother was basically a cunt sickle,
Yeah.
um, Connosaurus Rex, um, and brought her kid to work. She got into something she shouldn't have, and she paid for it by basically being turned into a giant lab rat. And I think the part that kind of was very poignant for me because of the era we living in with all these assaults and stuff going on. People think they could just take liberties with other people's bodies. She was like, um, I remember waking up back in the cage and having stuff did that I probably should have been doing to myself, even though I didn't know how to at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, like that speaks to like just a different level of, because it has to be weird. Like I have the concept of knowing you've been abused or assaulted, but not knowing what those things look like,
Yeah.
not knowing really what they mean. So that has to be such a unique mind f in itself. On top of the fact that you're basically being treated like an animal, compiled with the neglect that you have, from basically a non-existent parental figure. So she's screwed up 99 different ways from Sunday, and that really becomes evident when you get into the later issues. You realize like he's basically her handler,
Mm-hmm.
um, in so many ways because it's again we reading this stuff and there's so many because the series immediately pops up in your head when stuff like this because even the backstory with Mother's Milk, it's different in the series, and we haven't really delved too hard back off into him. But I don't know if it will be as tragic as what we got from the book, just because of the way he comes off. And the thing doesn't really, it's not a nail on the head the way it is in the book. Because the concept of his name is going to come up again in this next issue.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, like you said, they're probably my least notable of the previous two, but I don't think not any less important. Just because this character can't really talk for herself, you kind of it's interpreted different.
Yes. And I agree with that. The one thing that I found very interesting about the female's arc is she ends it very poignantly saying something to the effect of, I was bred to be, a monster. I was experimented on and twisted, against nature by men. But I found myself, you know, I forget the way she phrased it, but she's like essentially saying like I found happiness essentially with the boys. So like I liked that juxtaposition of the men and the boys. I think that worked really
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Real quick, did you feel any I guess deepening meaning behind because the phrase "not Hiroshima" kept coming up?
Yeah, I saw that was especially a lot in the beginning, but I don't really know what the context they were going for. I was a little lost by that.
Yeah, me too. I guess again, digging. I was like, okay, are they trying to say like, not trying to take away from the importance of what happened in Hiroshima, but just saying that just because this isn't as bad as that doesn't mean that it's not equally as devastating. That whole thing.
It's very
But again, maybe,
possible.
yeah, maybe I'm fishing here, but because again, I couldn't really figure like it just kept coming up, and every time they said it, I'm like, okay, this has to have some importance because they keep saying it after every little, I guess, turn of events that happens in life, like the whole thing that happened with her dad, and then also to her mom, and then because again, this is another person connectivity that is suffering from these early stages of how can we, um, you know, find a cheaper way of honing this compound V because we keep being told specifically, like I guess they call the guy the legend, who's the book guy.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about just how freaking expensive it's been, how it continues to be to really define that compound V and not to keep it in a stabilized version so you could get somebody like Homelander instead of somebody like I don't know, Gooey Butthole or whatever name they'll come up with at the time. So.
In issue 39, it's What I Know, and it's basically just Butcher starting to explore more of what Annie had to do to get into the the Seven. And he finds out that, let me rephrase that because I know how that sounded. And he, not Annie, and he finds out that Annie and Huey are together. It sets up essentially what would be the catalyst for a lot of interpersonal issues. Part of what I know also the issue where Huey and Annie started to explore, shall we say, sexually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in a pawn shop. Or maybe not a pawn shop, a comic book / pawn shop. The world is weird, people.
It's an adult shop for sure.
Yes, it's an adult shop, and he's constantly being surprised. Like you would think, and maybe it's just because he has a certain natural nature about himself that's still innocent in a way.
Wait, Marcus, I got it. He walks in. Dun, dun, dun. What's this? There's something in the air. What's this? There's something in her rear.
That could have very much went this way. Specifically, had he like pushed her to do certain things, but it's
the other way
funny.
around.
Exactly. It's funny because she's finding, sexual exploration as a way of feeling liberated. Also in a way of connecting with Hewitt because she finally found somebody, like she said, that she can love. But there is a moment in here that felt it was obviously pivotal for one side, but pivotal for him as well because both of these people are coming off of being sexually assaulted. But it's more on the head for her, no pun intended, when they're watching the sex tape and she's like, okay, what's wrong? Because she's performing fellatio on him as the movie's playing. And she's like, why are you skipping? He's like, I got to skip past this part where it's like 2 dudes on 1 girl. That's freaking disgusting. Who would do such a thing? La da da da. He basically he gets very judgmental about the concept, not knowing obviously what happened to her. And it kind of triggers her because she stops. And in my mind, I'm like, wait, because I obviously her story is completely on the surface, but I'm like, wait a minute. I wonder if it's triggering for him seeing like potentially dudes do something to other dudes because of what happened to him as well.
That's some great subtext. That's a very big possibility. I feel like I'll have to go back and reread that panel. I don't feel like he came off too belligerent in his dismissal of it, because like his exact words that I remember was, it's a turnoff, not so much that he finds it disgusting. So, but and with her, we have to remember in this instance with what she did with the Seven, excuse me, that's not technically an assault because she volunteered for it, if that makes sense. At least that's the context that we're being given. This isn't like what happened with her and I keep wanting to call him Aquaman.
Yeah, maybe what I should have used was they have some sexual related trauma, if you will.
Yes, that's fair because what she did definitely has lingered with her, and it's more of a guilty conscience and a betrayal of her morals than anything. But she's also afraid that if he finds out that she did what she had to do, or at least that's if she did what she felt she had to do to get into the Seven, that if he found out about it, that he'd reject her. So there's a lot of fear there. Something she goes on to say, not referencing the exact moment as to why she's afraid to reveal, but she just says, now that you've told me you love me and I've told you I love you, I'm afraid. Was essentially her exact words.
Yeah, and then even more so on the head, on again, really, paralleling it, the act that she was doing when she, I guess, felt judged in that moment.
Yeah.
Really. So,
Literally the same thing. Only with one. Only this was buy 1, get 3 special. So then the Innocents takes us to a small Midwestern town to meet Super Duper. I love these kids. I don't remember any of their names, but they're all a bunch of good-meaning trash baskets. Like, they're just the worst, but they're trying their best.
Yeah. They have the emotional, I guess, intent to be class 1A, but like you said, they suck.
This is Class 2C, Marcus.
Exactly.
This is the it's not the hero course. It's not the this is the general studies course, Marcus. You got a guy with Tourette's. You got
the foreshadow.
yeah. Oh, we're wrapping this show all together in one nice little package tonight. You got a guy with Tourette's. You got a girl who allegedly can walk through walls, although we didn't see it. She just kept hitting the wall. You had a large young man who I don't know what his deal was, but he was just a mess. But they're essentially given a pro hero to work with. We're gonna My Hero Academia this arc a little bit. They got a pro hero. They didn't get All Might. They didn't get Mount Lady. They didn't get what's his name? Point shot, rim shot, corner shot. The guy who can turn himself into little tiny pieces of paper. Quick shot.
Paper mache man. No.
No, he looks like he's the coolest design in My Hero. He's the ninja dude.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what they call him, but he was definitely
something
part
shot.
Of the part of the raid that they did.
Right.
Fold the body.
Well, that's his power.
Edge shot, the ability to manipulate.
Edge shot.
Yeah, edge shot.
I knew it was something shot.
That sounds like a Transformers name. Edge shot.
Edge shot and his partner fold the body. So they didn't get Edge shot. They didn't even get goddamn fucking Todoroki's dad. What's his name?
Endeavor.
Yeah, they didn't even get Endeavor. No, they got Hero Killer Stain. This motherfucker is named Mal Chemical because he can change the particles in his body into different chemical compounds. So he can turn himself into vapor, into liquid, into different types of fabric. So he's a giant dip. And he's doing community service by Vought because he's done some shit. Eventually, he gets angry at the children, and I think he's either about to kill one of them or have his way with one of the girls. I read this a couple of weeks ago, so I don't remember the exact details. But Huey, who was sent to town to keep taps on this little tiny super duper league, he overhears it, barges in to try to stop him, and Mal Chemical whoops the shit out of Huey. Even though Butcher's kind of being a bit of a pedantic little bitch, sending Huey on these meaningless errands just to fuck with him, he does take offense to Huey getting roughed up and comes in and obliterates Mal Chemical. After killing Mal Chemical, he turns to the kids and Huey begs Butcher, they're just wee children. They're just wee kids. Don't. And he's all fucked to hell. And these poor kids are terrified. And I know it was supposed to be done tongue-in-cheekly where you're supposed to I felt really bad for these fictional characters, man. I felt really bad for these kids. I had a hard time getting through this arc.
No, I mean I'm right there with you. I mean, look, when we introduce these kids, they very much come off like like I said, a real screwed up family, but the purposeful intent of being a family nonetheless. Like they talking about, who's gonna be the leader, and then they pass around the concept of people in the group being a leader, specifically a girl, which was also cool. And then they're like, "Nah, man, I want to be one of y'all. No matter who's the lead, I just want to be with y'all," and that whole deal, and how they look out for each other. They're very much aware of each other's weaknesses and their emotional fluxes that they go into, if you will. But then, like you said, they come in and very much get pushed up against a wall by, basically being introduced to somebody who is a grade A-hole. And, of course, this is a Vought plant. And between Mal Chemical and Butcher, they're used as pawns in both of their games. Mm-hmm. Because the only reason why he sent Huey there, and that's really the crux of not only the end of the last issue with the whole Butcher finding out, but this whole thing. The only reason why he sent him there is not only the whole thing about just potential stuff with the kids, but he's basically testing Huey.
Yeah, he wants to see if Huey's a Vought plant.
Yeah, so at this point, for the first time, truly in this series, Butcher's conflicted because you can't do what he's done and continue doing what he's doing by second guessing yourself. But when he saw Huey, he was like, "All right, mate," because he didn't initially see who Huey was kissing. He just saw she was kissing a bad chick, and he was like, it was like a father being proud of his son after teaching him the like vagina 101 course or something. and, and she turned around like, "Oh no, oh no," and then for the first time, like you see this guy who lives in a specific form of reality more so than most walk off and be like, "You didn't see that. You didn't see that. You didn't see that," and then he goes to the doctor and the legend, and the legend's like, "Piss off. That guy's not smart enough to be a plant." What he was like I like Huey. He's a good kid. But he got one of those brains that one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. You get me what I'm saying? Like it's
Gotta keep
one foot.
one step head of the bread line, one swing head of the sword. I steal only what I can't afford, and that's everything.
But yeah, and he was like, "So what are you gonna do if you find out?" Like, I don't know. It was like, why? Because I don't want it to be true. And you realize, other than the dog and his wife, he really looks at Huey like a little brother. So the concept of him being this conflicted and him still coming to Huey's aid, and Huey going, "Look, man, like I get who you are. I don't really know because you're like the one backstory I didn't get, but more on that at 11." It was like, "But could you please just spare these kids? Like I've monitored some real a-holes in the 7. These aren't those guys." So it's that relationship, that continued relationship, which is very much, and I appreciate it, is mirrored in the show by Carl Urban and I forget the actor's name that plays Huey, but it's done in such a great way. And in the show, he challenges Butcher more than he does in the book, which we're going to get into season 2. So that's good because obviously we know there's some fallout between the decisions that got made. But yeah, that was heartbreaking to see. Like I was more so heartbroken for I guess Butcher and because again, this is something that Huey is unaware of. He has no idea about who his girl is, and he has no idea that Butcher. Because what really hit me was it never dawned on me that when he found out, he would think that he was a plant.
Right.
So that really kind of took me aback. So yeah, this was a tough issue to get through for several reasons, which again is the mark of a great book. Which a lot of the issues in this book have come off like very much selfish, I guess, mind F's for the author to kind of get off, and we kind of having to just sit through it. These came off as more purposeful and meaningful towards the series as a long-term thing, as opposed to Hero-gasm, which was a F for no reason.
Essentially. We also find out that Homelander, the evidence that the boys have on Homelander is allegedly photos of him eating people. So, that's a thing. So for next week, we will tackle Believe and Highland Laddie. So that's issues 44 through 47 and special issues 1 through 6 for Highland Laddie. It's a miniseries. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the gentlemanly villain.
Mr. Gentile.
So this gentle villain wants to get people to notice him, and I honestly, Marcus, I don't fucking know why. He wants to bring back a better class of villainry, but why doesn't he just go be a hero then? I don't know. This villain specifically is very interesting, but he's not working as a villain.
Yeah, he's like a pseudo, like a Robin Hood for, if you will. He's like a millennial Robin Hood where he's like, "Look, man, I'm doing this for y'all's benefit. But don't forget to subscribe. Click that bell and that notification." Like that whole spiel about trying to get noticed and everything. Like it's weird because off of the crazy arc we just came off of, where it's. And Chisaki was a deep guy because obviously we know that the worst villains are the ones who think that they're in the right.
Right.
But with this guy, it's I mean, he thinks he's doing the right thing in a way that he is, but it's very much in a self-grandized way that maybe he's not aware of or is aware of but doesn't want to acknowledge right now because, and it doesn't help when somebody like that has a battery in their back in the form of another person basically singing their praises every minute of the day. So, yeah.
How do you feel though about him as a villain? Do you think there's like something more there that we're not getting yet, or do you think that this is kind of like just going to be one of those villains that had potential but just doesn't land?
I think it's one of those villains that has potential that needs somebody like a Deku to bring it out of him because right now he's doing something because you take him for a complete joke and then you see him in action and this is we're going to get off into it but again kudos to this writing team and just the overall direction of my hero that always make the meager and the weak credible in the ways in which they apply the things that they can do instead of just regressing because they on paper aren't the strongest,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's much about how you do things as important as what you can do. So in that regard, but I think there's a lot more that he could be doing in the vein he's doing it in, but he kind of needs like a new motivation or somebody that can point him in a better direction. And I think going against somebody that's morally sound as Deku is a good thing. So I see the potential in this guy, but I get how a lot of people could be turned off by him, specifically again with the arc we just came off of. It's just not. It's not tantalizing in the same traditional ways.
You're right. You know, spot on analysis. The one thing that should be noted about him is his little girl sidekick convinced him to up the ante, so to speak, and to bring more violence with his next video. So he might not be the most gentlemanly of villains here, going into next week's episode. We also found out that what's his name? Night Shadow, the bird head.
Tokiyami.
Yeah, we found out that Tokiyami can play lead guitar, so that's a thing. We also found out that Bakugo can play drums.
Freaking poor Mineta. He was like, I can't reach the strings because of my character design.
That was great.
I had something in my mouth that would have been on the floor. That was hilarious.
And then fucking Todorami's Toko. Yeah, what is it? What's his name?
Yeah, Tokiyami's like, I will play for you.
He's like,
yeah,
I will play for you, young Mineta.
Like, piss off. I hope your hand falls off. Ask the girls, hey, what if I make you a part of a harem? He was like, this is the best experience. I'm like, freaking Mineta is always on brand. You got to appreciate this about this kid. Freaking Mineta, man. He always on.
Love it. So then we found out that Deku and the rest of the heroes who were mistimed to the work studies are going to be part of the dancing group. But we also found out that All Might taught Deku, there you go, a new power. And he's like, hey, dummy, you know how whenever you do the big dump thing, wind blows? He's like, yeah. Duh. Oh, yeah, I could use the wind blowing as a long-range attack. And fucking All Might's like, fucking idiot. I bet you Lemillion would have figured that one out.
It's funny because me and you like criticized that filler episode that was right before the Two Heroes movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can't wait for Chad to watch that and the new film because I've seen the new film. It's visually orgasmic, but we'll eventually get to it. We talked about how like they put Deku in this because we know he's one of the smartest characters on the show, but he was just like unnecessarily over smart in that episode where he just literally figured out the whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that when the heroes were the villains and they had to figure out the plan because All Might was supposed to be a dead villain.
Yes.
And Deku basically just laid out the plan. It's like, okay, we know Deku was smart, but it's like he literally wrote the script for this episode and regurgitated it to the viewers. But here, All Might's like, look, man, we need to train. Go full Cowling. He was like, but I told you, just do it. And then he goes full Cowling. And I love, again, my hero can bring like seasons and episodes from years or seasons prior into one moment. Like All Might basically going through the entire progression of him. The first time I feel like he punched that robot out to the point where he donned full cowling. And I think when we talked about all the Deku upgrades, I think what you was trying to get me to say was you were looking for, like, did he call his energy something else? I think you were looking for shoot style.
It's very possible.
Because that's what he donned it when he started using his legs to his repertoire. He started calling it shoot style. And then he called his new outfit without the gloves his gamma, his gamma outfit. But back to this, he basically figured out what All Might was gonna say. All Might was just looking dumbfounded, like vintage Deku strikes again. But with the wind pressure, he was like, wait a minute, All Might, you know, couldn't have always been at 100%, or he basically would have been Godzilla every time he did something. So, him having to cycle through the percentages of his power, which couldn't have been easy, but again, speaks to, and another great thing we got in this, freaking All Might had hero gear.
Yeah.
Which was cool. And freaking Deku marked out and went for it on the internet, which was hilarious. At the end of the Moneta will always be a perv, and no matter what we see from Deku, he will always be an All Might mark. So he will always be an All Might mark. But yeah, like the concept again, this speaks to how he used All for One, because if All Might didn't have that muscle form, I don't think he would have been able to do really any of what he did. So the concept of Deku having to supplement what All Might used in terms of his body with hero, what they call it, help gear or whatever, and All Might going, wow, like the advancements in this, if I would have had this, like he might still be going if he had hero gear.
Yeah.
So I mean, he basically said that he was like, the gear I was using really wasn't conducive with what I did with my power. So I basically just used my body as my gear, which, probably took a lot of time off him, but specifically after that injury he took. So it was cool seeing that Deku leveled up again. But what it really did was take me back to the sports festival that's when he really was using the West Smash, where he tore his fingers up to the point where he started flicking the wind pressure from his finger out of the side of his mouth. This guy is crazy. So to see him go from that to this, I think it was cool. And because I'm gonna pass it to you. Could the girl, the freaking the inventor girl, would you please take a bath, please? Jesus, you're too cute to be stinking like that.
That's very true. That's very true. So the other thing that we found out of this episode is that they've convinced and gotten approval to bring Eri to the sports festival, or not the sports festival, the celebration festival. Yep. So they're going to do a song, dance, techno-style, Daft Punk wannabe performance with Eri. At the same time, the gentlemanly villain, I think that's his name, shows up. So next week's episode is going to be bonkers. I hope little Eri's okay. She just wants to be their friend.
Yeah, it was cool seeing just how connected she still is with Lemillion and Togeda and Deku, because she was basically with them the whole time, and her like basically just exploring around and just seeing how wide-eyed she got around certain things, specifically the beauty pageant, which again, knockers, this shows committance to knockers is
A plus.
A plus. A plus.
10 out of 10. But, would do again.
But it's cool to see us get maybe a flash of flash of the future where she may one day come to UA, and participate in this stuff. What was also interesting was, again, the continued evolution of Bakugo. Hearing the general studies kids basically blame them for everything that's happened. It was like, how they get, it's basically what the Vulture was complaining about with Iron Man, like how he get to F the city up and take credit for cleaning it up at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So that's basically what, and him kind of taking umbrage with that and going, look, man, we really shouldn't be the ones doing this, but if we're going to do it, we got to go all out with it. And him kind of taking that charge, because old Bakugo wouldn't have cared. He might have attacked those students, to be honest. So, because of how he takes criticism, but that was a cool little point of evolution, and the fact that the girl with the earplugs is could basically be on the Masked Singer at this point is hilarious. But it was a cool ep, and I think was this the episode where he fought Gentile?
Maybe.
Yeah, because he had to go. He had to go. Because Gentile was going to that little shop that had that specific brand of tea or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was. Yeah, I think we got the debut of seeing Deku use his gloves. So yeah, that was cool. Just like I said, the application of how that villain uses his quirk is cool, and we don't even know what she can do yet, which is coming up in the episode. So that's going to be cool. La Brava.
Yes, that's what it is. La Brava. Because he's always about bravissimo. La Brava.
Am I the
So,
only one that's trying
yes.
to ponder how old she is, by the way, because of how their relationship is?
Yeah, like, that was something that I was thinking about with the female and Frenchie too, because in the comic, it seems more like a parental thing, but in the show,
Yeah.
it seems almost like a reverse Nightingale syndrome.
Yeah.
But in this, I think it's more of an admiration, like he sees her as his number one fan, and she sees him as this grand poobah of liveliness that to emulate yourself against. So I feel like that's where they're at in that regard. But
Yeah.
she's like 4 feet tall, so she's either a little person or super young. So like, one of those is super creepy, one of those is super not. But the one that's
Exactly.
super creepy is super illegal.
Yeah. Me and Chad know how it is to be looked at and then be like, oh, you must be no, I'm a grown man.
No,
So
trust me, I've never had that. Oh, look at the baby face. When I was 15, I looked 30.
yeah, facial has helped me out a lot. Although it's yeah, shout out to the beard, but it does feel good to, and I guess when you go to the store and get looking for somebody else for them to ask for your card, um, which is more procedural at this point than anything, but it still kind of feels like a nice little nudge to the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's weird because again, she could be on a Gran Torino status where she could be much older than we think she is because she's a fan, but she comes off kind of like a little kid. It's weird because a lot of I guess if we go down the line of the women in this series, like obviously I think the only person that really comes off immediately mature without a doubt is the one, uh, the hero chick with the pheromones coming off her body.
Oh yeah, the let's just call it the kink hero.
Yeah, the king hero, Monetta's rival. He's his rival, if you will. Uh,
Minetta's waifu, more like it.
oh, that's his Wendy Peppercorn. I love it. Oh,
He's gonna
but
drown in the pool, so she has to do CPR.
I'm, I'm, I'm telling you, they're gonna. I feel like, oh, maybe this is wishful thinking. I want this series to end like how they did with Sandlot, and then Deku's like, I kept up with those guys over the years, and I found out.
Bakugo got arrested. Todoroki made up with his father, and then he got arrested for killing him. Ida became prime minister, and then he
Exactly.
disappeared.
Last I heard, he was running across China or something.
Last I heard, he was emulating Forrest Gump.
Like the guy that with the sugar rush quirk, he took over for Willy Wonka.
And then died of diabetes. The guy with the 4 arms who can make appendages out of them became super popular in the adult industry.
I was going there too. I was like, he became the porno.
Who's the little electric dude?
Um, forgot his specific name. Let's see. Your name. Kaminari.
Kaminari becomes a failed idol in Japan. An idol is a pop musician singer, for those of you unaware.
Like he now owns his own store selling like an infinity battery or something.
Yes. And of course we have Deku and Urabi or Uraraka. Thank you.
Yeah.
They get married, but not just them. They get married to Yaya Rosa as well. No, what's her name? Momo.
Momo, yeah.
Yeah,
Momo,
the chick who creates stuff. Deku's a
yeah,
happy boy.
Yeah. Oh, the chick with the earplugs and Tokiyami start a band.
And then the chick with the earplugs buries Tokiyami in a desert somewhere just because he's so fucking annoying. And then she's arrested.
Yeah. Freaking our boy Kirishima marries the girl with the acid, and they start their own little hero agency.
Yep. Red Riot is the only one who has a normal life, and everyone's like least expected person to actually turn out normal.
Wait a minute, what about Invisigirl?
They never saw her again.
Oh, damn it, I set you up for it. She faded away.
Oh! She faded away. She faded away into nothing.
There you go. There it is. It's back.
Magneto, did you really think that you were more powerful than me? Like, dude, why are you straining your voice so hard? I am the reason you live. I am the reason you have your power. Without me, you would fade away into nothing. Speaking of fading away into nothing, Castlevania Season 3. I'll go more in depth on it on Saturday when we do our GameCorp podcast, but I'm going to tell you that while I do see some of the complaints, I get it. I will tell you that it is a strong season overall, and the people who are complaining about Castlevania don't remember all the terrible, terrible, terrible comic or specifically video game adaptations that we've gotten over the years. The problem that I think Castlevania Season 3 suffered from is that most of what was happening here didn't need 10 episodes to happen. Everything you knew was going to happen in like episode 2 or 3, it happened when it climaxed in episode 8 or 9. So like we knew where it was going. Like it was obvious. And I think that's part of the issue is that it was obvious, not that it was bad. Episodes 8, 9, and 10, though, I think are pretty hardcore. And there's a lot of... Not a lot, but there's a lot of... there's a substantial amount of levity in this season. And I think that upsets some people. Especially with Alucard, who's like alone for like the first part of the episodes, and he's just like... He has these two little dolls that look like the other main characters, because the other main characters left at the end of season 2. So he has these two little dolls that look just like the main characters, and he's doing the voices for the characters. And it's really fucking hilarious, and he's just like, I'm so lonely. It's a strong season. Not as good as season 2, but season 2 is super fucking tight-knit. So I'm looking forward to season 4 and seeing where this goes.
Yeah. That's so cool. I'm guessing that's a historical thing with Dracula, because that was one of my favorite things from the Batman on the 2004 series that had on WB. His movie with Dracula, because in his civilian form, his name was Alucard, and as we know, that's Dracula spelled backwards.
Yes.
So yeah.
Now, I don't know which version of Alucard came first, the backwards name of Dracula or the son of Dracula taking the name as an inverse to his father. But in Castlevania, in this instance, Alucard's the son of Dracula and a human woman. He's referred to as a Damphir. And he's pretty much just kind of a decent dude. He's all like, what's up? So, yeah, that is a historical kind of connection. I just don't know which one is more... which one came first? Be it that Alucard was the name Dracula used in public, or it's the name of his son. And technically, it's not even the name of his son. I think his name is Adrian, but he took the name as a symbolic gesture to his father. Because in the Castlevania, the TV series, Dracula's real name is Vlad Tepes, based off of a real person in history. In the game, I don't know if that's the same case. I would have to explore some of the game lore before I made a definitive statement. But it's definitely worth your time to check out if you haven't. If you like the Castlevania games, it's definitely, it lives up to the hype, and definitely does have a very dreadful kind of feeling to it, but it has some great music and great action scenes. And I think it works out pretty well. So
Yeah. Did you have you checked out that new Mortal Kombat trailer?
for the movie,
No, there's a animated movie dropping. Let me see if I can get you with it.
I will have to check this out. I'm not seeing a trailer here. I'll Google it after the show. I'm sure it won't be that hard to find. Does it look good?
Gotcha. It's called yes, yeah, it's called Scorpions. Let me see. It's called Scorpions. Yeah, Scorpions Revenge. Maybe that was the better. Yeah, there you go.
Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge. I just took a shot in the dark. I didn't realize I was right. Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks really good. Extremely graphic, looks really good. And yeah, it's cool to see them going in this particular route for this story. Even before we get to the movie, which thankfully is not something that has to be pushed back with other stuff, because I would think that was coming out next year anyway. But yeah, it looks really good. Looks really good. And also, I think we got another Justice League movie coming out on the animated side. Justice League, I think it's Apocalypse War.
Mm-hmm.
So that's looking forward to that too. So
that should be interesting. Any other thoughts? Comments, concerns, questions?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, then we are done. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. We got Chuck's Season 4. Check us out. We're going to be live on twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp as we talk about it. Me and Swisher. Marks and I will be back on Sunday unless something comes up. So join us at realnerdcorp.com. RealNerdCorp.com. We are on Twitter at NERDCorp. We are on Instagram at RealNerdCorp. Our woman crush for this week was Bianca Belair. I was a little late getting that one up. My bad. And our wrestler of the week is Shayna Baszler.
Nice.
I was about to text you like, Marcus, who dis? I was going to send you a picture because I'm like, who dis? And then
for Bianca?
Yeah. And then I was like, that's Bianca. I'm like, I've never seen her without her hair in the whip.
Oh, that's hilarious. I was about like, oh, if you would have seen me there, I'm like, Chad, come on, man. Not you. You know how Chad is about his particular taste. I'm like, you don't know? I got to put you up on this. Come on, bro. You usually ahead of the curve, even ahead of me.
So I've never seen Bianca without like a lot of lipstick and a lot of makeup, and her hair. And the shot I saw, she was like looking over her right shoulder, kind of like holding either Charlotte or Corey Graves' mistress. And like then you had like Ruby Riott was there and Dana Brooke. I'm like, wait, who's that? Like that doesn't. I've never seen her before. Because she doesn't really have like any distinguishing tattoos, you know, like with Ruby Riott, who's very obvious. And like even with Dana Brooke, I'm like, who's that? So like I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's Bianca and Dana Brooke. I'm like, I guess I just became a Bianca Belair fan. Like like no makeup. Please.
Oh, yeah.
So please. Dana Brooke too. So please. Yes, much. Goddamn pretty girls. I like pretty girls. That's my type. They can be from anywhere, look like anything. As long as I find them pretty, they are my type. Oh, goddamn. I'm going to tell you what, though. There's one woman I think you and I are definitely going to have a fight over. I'm going to send you her picture when we get out the air. Because, like, definitely, like, yes, please. She's Canadian, but she's very much our type. So we'll get to that. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter, ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That is me.
You can also find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp. You can also find me on Fan-Sided MMA, Factory of Sadness. I'm on Red Shirts Always Die. What else do we have? You go to the Podbean app at realnerdcorp.podbean.com and download all of our past shows. Or you can download the app itself, the Podbean app, to your mobile device and search Real Nerd Corp today to start listening to all the shows. So with all that being said, we are done for the day. We're checking out. I'm going to go have some dinner. And, stay safe, stay clean, and have some fun while the world shuts down for a week or two.
Yeah,
Marcus.
and don't be an a-hole.
And don't be an a-hole.
Please.
So, Marcus, if we got anything else, now's the time. Otherwise, I guess it's time to say goodnight.
Good night, me.